2 guns.
I'm excited. Just 2.
You're such a baller to have 2 custom guns. All right, welcome to the Practical Pistol Show, everyone. My name is Ben, here to answer shooting questions. On right now, Mr. Tim Herron, say hello.
Hey guys, what's up?
What's up? What's up is you got 2 custom guns headed your way.
I do.
I do. And Kimmy, say hello.
Hello. Hi,
Hello.
guys.
We're going to get you a
Hi,
better
y'all.
mic one of these days.
Yeah.
Actually, after we finish the show, you should give me your address. I'll just ship you one. That sounds easier. Anyway, let's get to the questions, because that's what everybody's here for. Wait, Kim, you haven't been on since you finished second at Carry Optics Nationals. Do you want to talk about that?
Yeah, it was pretty interesting match. The Carry Optics gun definitely for me is easier for me to
No one
shoot
gives
dots.
a fuck about the interesting match. Like, they want to hear about how awesome you are.
Yeah, just try to focus hard on that match. It worked.
You focused hard.
Yeah, it was very interesting because I've never be at the position where I can win like national match, and also at the range there was Wi-Fi, so they were uploading the scores almost real time.
Were you on the Super Squad?
No, I was not. No, I was shooting with random people.
But how far removed were you on the stages? You know, were you like, you know what I mean?
Yeah, so basically Super Squad and I were shooting the same race, but different stages. So I was able to kind of guesstimate. And after the first stage, we literally shot the same stages, and I was very close to Max Michel. And then I was winning at some point, but somebody told me that I was leading by 200 points.
What?
And I checked it 200 points. So
yeah,
I was
that
like,
person's
what?
clearly an idiot. So
Yeah, so I was like, that's kind of weird. So I checked the scoring, but then I thought I was leading like 70 points, but that was because I was shooting one stage quicker than the Super Squad, because our squad was obviously shooting a little faster. So I was like, okay, I just gotta cruise to win. So I changed my plans to really safe plans, and that's where Max Michel started having like 3 stage wins in a row. And then the last stage we were like toe to toe, and yeah, the last stage for him was very strong suit for him. There were lots of steel poppers, and yeah, a lot of points posing stage. So I didn't really have experience for that, but it was pretty good.
well, that's excellent. Your time will come, sir.
Absolutely.
I feel confident with that. That's all I got to say. All right, time for the questions. Shooting production minor, I recently started experimenting in club matches by shooting only A's. Typically, out of 6 stages, I would have 2 or more stages with 100% A's, depending on the specific stage design in the matches. It does slow me down quite a lot, but it's interesting. I'm able to consistently place number 1 in production by doing that, versus previously I tend to land after some other M shooters. Looks like I'm getting 92 or 95% of the points in those matches. My question is, how many points is too much for balanced speed and accuracy in minor? 90%, 95%? Do you think this strategy will be successful for major matches? I started as a fast but not accurate shooter. For example, sub 4-second LPres on all paper kind fast. As a result, it is very painful for me to shoot slowly than in my practice. Do you think I should speed up to a degree where maybe 85% of points is a good balance? Okay. Kim, you're the stats guy here, right?
I am?
No,
Kim.
Kim, not Tim.
Kim, okay.
I'm sorry.
Yeah. This question is kind of interesting. So
But is it really though? It's pretty well settled, right?
Yeah, I think it's pretty famous questions because when I was shooting locals, a couple of people tell me to do this, like 90% shooting, or some people ask me if they have to shoot 90% kind of thing. And also, I had the same question to you before, actually. But the answer I found recently was it's not really shooting the 90% of my ability. Uh, how I look at it, especially at the nationals, I had something similar to this because the heat factor sometimes varies to what 10 heat factor, sometimes 5 heat factor or 7 heat factor. The heat factor always varies, and some people say, oh, if it's a low heat factor, you should shoot a little bit like 90% or 85% of your ability. But I don't believe that. I don't do that. What I do is actually I have.
Well, this guy's asking what percentage of points he should end up with.
Oh, for that one, it's always, for me personally, all alphas to open targets, almost no matter what heat factor it is. I try to aim the alpha zones for open targets, but what really changes for me is partial targets. So that depends on the heat factor. If the heat factor is very high, like 10, 9, 8, let's say if there is a headshot target or half covered A zone, then I would try to like aim off the A zone and C zone, the line around the line. But if it's a very low heat factor, if there's a headshot or like I said, like 50% A zone exposed, then I would definitely try to shoot A's on that.
So what you're saying is, it depends.
It depends on the heat factor for me.
Well, and on the stage design.
Yes, and also the minor scoring or major scoring too.
Well, he's shooting minor.
Yeah, then definitely low heat factor, almost always. For example, at nationals, the stage 20 had 41-yard partial target and like 25-yard partial targets and stuff. That was a very low heat factor because a lot of running. It was the biggest stage I've ever seen so far. And I aimed all A's, even though it was 41-yard partial target, half covered. I still shot A's, and I actually got all alphas. That's a good example for me.
So, what I can tell this guy from looking at, well, first, like rule number one, fuck your club match. Like, there's not enough people there or data there, generally to give you a really good idea of what to do. If you look at big matches, typically you're going to see the winner in production shoot between like 90% points, and at the very top end you will occasionally see 95. The highest I think I can recall at a major match seeing a guy in production shoot something like 97%. I have seen that.
You did
98%.
Shut up.
What?
You shot 98%.
Okay, 98%.
Yeah.
That was me, 98. That's anomalous, right? That's not normal.
No, it's not normal. Well,
No, that's not normal shit. So you can look at what the winner.
I've seen you do it a couple of times.
Yeah, no, I've shot 95% a lot. 95% of points in production for a lot, but it is determined a lot by, and I'm not talking on one stage. I mean over the course of the match. So for all this stuff, don't look at one stage. It's never about one stage. So I would say if you're shooting, if you're trying to shoot accurately and fast, whatever. I mean, you're shooting your match and you occasionally shoot stages with all alphas. Don't take that to mean that you're shooting too slowly. And if you occasionally shoot a penalty, don't take that to mean that you're shooting too fast. Right? Look at the big picture, look at averages over time, or look at the course of a major match. And typically you'll see the guys winning wind up between 90 and 95% of the points in production. Right? Those are normal numbers.
Well,
That
if he's
should be
looking
the
at it,
baseline. What's that, Tim?
yeah. I mean, if he's looking at it from a standpoint, if he's looking at it from a percentage of points percentage based on stages, I mean, if you kind of think about it, reality of the matter, if he's looking at 90% of points, let's say on a 160-point long course, that's allowing yourself 8 Charlie. You know, that's that's a lot of points down. That's 16 points down, and that still gets you at 10% from that's 90% of available points on that stage, which
right. But what I
in
would
my
say is
in my thoughts, like that's too many. That's too many points down.
I would say it depends on the stage.
Exactly.
So if it's a 32 round hoser stage, really with everything between 5 and 10 yards and relatively high hit factor, not a whole lot of partial targets, that may be a shitload of Charlies. Or it could be 32 rounds all on head boxes, in which case shooting 8 Bravos probably isn't that bad.
Right.
So it depends so much on the stage design for any individual stage that it's really. I mean, I don't worry about it too much for one stage. So when Kim's talking about, sometimes you want to aim at the AC line and stay off those no shoots, stay away from the hard cover a little bit. That's smart. That's a smart way to play it. You don't always go for the center of the A zone. What I tell guys in classes, and I think this works the best, is you want to make generally speaking, you're going to make an attempt at the alpha. And what I mean is, for any target, you shoot at the alpha. You try to get alphas on it, unless you make a decision beforehand. You're like, oh, there's a partial on there; it's too risky. Generally, you're going to go for the alphas. What that means is you don't point the gun at a 20-yard target and go pop pop, and just let the hits fall where they may, and be like, well, I shot fast, so that was fine. You have to at least make an effort to get A's. You'll occasionally get some close C's. That's a pretty good pace. That's a good way to do it.
Yeah.
And that'll be what guys winning matches consistently. That's probably the way they're playing the game. As soon as you start pushing beyond that, where you shoot really fast, you shoot faster than really you can see where everything's going, or faster than you can control. You're rolling the dice every stage. You may win one match and blow out the next, or something like that. Like crazy shit starts happening when you shoot that risky, I think.
I agree.
What do you think, Kimmy?
And past nationals, I've analyzed all the national scores that's out there, and most of the top shooters, let's say around top five people, were consistently shooting from 91 to 93%. And of course, there's like 95%, of course, but that is like one guy out of the whole match. But normally it was 91 to 93%. That was my conclusion on that. But like Ben said, especially the nationals I just shot, optic nationals, it was very low hit factor stages. So my perspective was, let's shoot as many percentage as possible because it's low hit factor, and I think the speed part wasn't gonna make me win. But the conclusion is, the more low hit factor stages there are, I think the percentage should go up, and higher percentage of hits helped. So it really depends on the characteristics of the match.
Well, yeah. So when you go to France, Kim, you're going to see this. I would expect there to be, like, at IPSC matches a lot, you'll see stages where there's medium or not that difficult of shots. There might be a stage that's a bunch of 10 and 15 yard classic targets, a couple of partials on there, not generally that many, a few pieces of steel, but there's a ton of movement. So it drags the hit factor way down. And when the shots are that easy, but the hit factors drag down so low, it's like you really want to shoot a lot of alphas.
Yeah.
I mean, I think at the Europeans I had in 24 stages, something like, I don't know, 28 or 30 Charlies or something like that. Like, not that many. But that was appropriate to the match.
Yeah.
Anyway. Anything to add to this, Tim?
No, you guys knocked it out of the park on that one.
Well, it's Kim. See, Kim, the place where people start getting confused is when you're like, it depends on the stage a lot, and then then they're like, oh, well, then I'll go really fast on these other stages.
Yeah. One thing I wanted to touch a little bit was, so this guy was asking, like, going slowly and changing the speed pace kind of thing at the last. So
yeah.
How I approach to the lower heat factor stage is, so if the target is close up in high heat factor stage, I'm like completely target focused. Let's say even if it's a close target, 5-yard target in let's say 10 heat factor stage, then I am almost 100% focused on the A zone of the target. But if it, let's say 5 heat factor stage, and there is still 5-yard target, then I am focusing a little more or less confirming the sight a little bit more. So I'm not really actually shooting 90% or 80% of my ability. I'm just changing my aiming system. Changing my aiming system from 100% target focus to maybe a little bit more seeing the sight. So it's not sight focused, but somewhere in between.
And what if
So
you're
I'm
not?
confirming a little more.
What would you do if you're not really sure what the hit factor is going to be?
Then I will definitely make sure I shoot alphas on them.
Okay.
Yeah, but I will not shoot 90% of my ability. I will just change my aiming system. Like target focus to sight focus, or target focus to intermediate sight focus kind of thing.
You okay, Tim?
Yeah, I'm good. Sorry. My drawer was stuck.
All right. On the topic of shooting classifiers, why is it that I can consistently shoot 10 reps of a classifier stage in practice for a 100% score, including cold runs, but I can only score below 90% or so in real match setting? I noticed that. I don't know. Let's skip that part. So is it true that I must score 200% in practice consistently in order to score 100% in a real match? What do you think is the main barrier on a classifier stage match performance? Mental, relaxation, etc. I paid attention and tried addressing those, but did not seem to work. I tried treating classifier stages just like other stages, but they seem to be real trouble for me. Tim, you got what do you think this guy's talking about here?
He's overthinking things. So when he goes, I mean, it's the thing we've talked about before with just mental pressure. So the guy's putting the pressure on himself when he goes to a match and shoots a classifier stage. He's not duplicating that type of match pressure or that type of mental pressure in his practice, or I'm sure he would start to kind of fall off the rails a little bit in practice. So, I mean, I'm sure the three of us here probably could go out in practice with no pressure on ourselves and blow hundo classifier scores out of the water all day long. But, when you start to put match pressure on it, I don't know, things tend to, I think for 99% of people, especially that have this issue, is they tend to put way more pressure on themselves at a match because, it's kind of like it's for all the marbles, so to speak, instead of just like, oh, well, if I crush it in practice, I crush it. If I don't, I get to try it again. So he needs to figure out how to put that
I'm sorry,
level of pressure on himself.
You're breaking up a little bit. What's going on?
Sorry. I don't know.
Right, so what were you
now?
saying? No, what were you saying?
I said I don't think this guy is probably putting the kind of pressure he needs to put on himself in practice. So, or he's checking himself into a spot where the classifiers mean something more than just they're a stage at the match.
Well, hey, but you know what? Nobody gives a fuck if you win your club match, but you can go to any other club and shoot a match there, or go shoot a major match, and you'll have a G next to your name for till the end of time,
Mm-hmm.
So that's what he wants. Is he wrong?
I think that's what a lot of people want.
Yeah, it is. So what's the solution then? What's the actionable solution there?
He needs to. There's a couple of things. I mean, in practice, like I said, I think a lot of it's a mental block or lack of mental pressure in practice. I think some of it too is he's probably guys that say like, oh, I can throw 100% down on a classifier totally cold in practice too. Well, I mean, yeah, you don't have 95% of the time, or you're practicing by yourself and you're putting your timer on, on just a delayed start, and you kind of know when to start, how to start, what you're going to do, versus like I said, I think there's some mental blocks when you go to a match and you got somebody else that's kind of running the timer. You got an RO there. You got everybody kind of watching you, so you've got the pressure of an audience to put on yourself too. And, then you kind of know again too, like, oh, this is for serious this time. So you tend to get that nervousness built up to where I think it tends to hinder people's performance. He's got to figure out a way. He's got to figure out a way to execute even with immense pressure on himself.
Okay. Yeah. Well, what I always like to focus on is little things on classifiers. Like I want to make sure I really nail my grip when I draw, or really, do a good reload, get the magazine seated in the gun well, regrip the gun properly. I focus on that stuff because I find that that's what works for me when I'm under pressure. And I think if this guy paid attention at his club match runs where he blows out or fucks something up, he'll find out kind of what he's doing wrong. Because look, when you're practicing, you know that it's not real,
right?
And you can't really trick yourself. But when he goes to a classifier, his body's getting ready for it. It probably does an adrenaline jump on him. It makes him really stupid. So I would probably just start observing when you shoot a classifier stage at a match. Just pay attention to what's happening and how you feel, and that's going to give you some stuff to key in on for your training. Like how you grip the gun. Maybe he's gripping so hard with his firing hand, he's like mashing the trigger sideways or some shit like that. He's going to see and feel what he's doing if he's paying attention to it, because clearly, he's not doing the same thing in a match as he is in practice.
Right.
If these numbers he's reporting are accurate, the same things are not happening. So he needs to figure out in what way is it different, and then that's going to give him the action plan for how to fix it. Kim,
I agree.
your thoughts?
Well, I think you two guys nailed it down pretty well.
Fuck yeah, we did.
Yeah. So I had the same thing. I was treating classifiers manually differently when I was first starting to shoot. Like, oh, I gotta get this down, so I gotta get like 80% and get master class, something like that. So I was manually approaching it wrong, and then there was easy fix. Just don't think about it and think about just, oh, this is a stage that I need to shoot, as simple as that. But then I needed to develop some repeatable cue, or some people say visualization before you shoot it, or Ben just said where you have to hit when you draw the gun, like get a right grip, and where you look at when you reload, kind of thing. Those cues, and last year I didn't prepare classifier type of stages as much as big field courses, and that made me shoot not really well on stationary shooting type because it looks so easy, it looks so simple. I don't visualize as much as I did for bigger courses. Big courses, I always think I need to visualize like 70 times, 100 times, whatever. But I fixed that, and this year I was having much better results because I was basically visualizing stationary type of shooting stages over and over as much as I visualize as other bigger courses too. So it could be part of that too. If you visualize manually over and over, it's a cold run, but in your mind it's not, because you have shot it in your mind, and you have in your mind you drawn your gun over and over. Your palm or your web of your hand is hitting the gun over and over in your mind. I actually do draw process a little bit before I go up to the stage. I actually hit my web and my thumb area to my gun. I don't pull it out, of course. If I pull the gun out, it's a DQ. But I just hit the right spot over and over and over. And when I actually draw on the classifier stage, it's actually not cold for me anymore because I've drawn in my mind and I actually hit the right spot on the gun over and over and over. And that's a tip for me.
Yeah. Well, I hope it works out for him. We got one more question, guys. So we're going to do a third one. I think this one's for you, Tim. Do you do anything in particular to get faster in the gym doing your PT? Or do all your speed gains come from range and dry fire?
Well,
I'm just fucking with you that one's for you.
I was gonna say, what the shit? Speed gains for me all come from range and dry fire. I think just my level of fitness, though, as I've kind of gotten back into the gym
You're
and
looking
working out and
pretty
stuff like that. Well,
You're looking good.
It doesn't really do much for me. I don't think I don't know. Maybe it does in performance, like performance wise. I definitely don't find myself as winded like on big field courses or things. And then of course it's just made my practices a lot better too. Where I don't get as fatigued and as tired as quickly. So, but I mean, to think that like doing a lot of physical training in the gym, I don't know. That's something I know you do a lot of, like plyometric type stuff too. And
yeah,
like really
not
working
as
on
much as I should,
things.
but yeah.
So
when I'm home, I work out. I'm not home that much. That's kind of the problem. Somebody had a step counter the other day when I was doing classes. I guess I walk like 16 miles a day when I'm on the range. I have a hard time believing that, but maybe that's true. I don't know.
That's a lot.
Right? That's what I said. I was like, I should be a lot thinner. I'm like, what the fuck?
Yeah. But when you eat a lot of sushi
I don't eat that much sushi. Anyway.
and ice cream.
Kim, do you do any, you do some physical training, yeah?
Yeah, I put really big emphasis on physical training too. It's because USPSA is a physical sport, and it's basically I get faster from everywhere. He said gym or range or dry fire. I do my movements and training to get faster in every places. Gym, yes. Range, yes. Dry fire, yes. So in dry fire, I focus on shooting specific movements, in and out of position, shooting on the move kind of thing. And when I go to the gym, I don't necessarily run much, but I do leg strength, deadlifts, leg press, everything that helps. I found many articles and I watched many documentary videos, of course, for soccer players, football players, and I've learned how to run faster straight in a straight line or run faster diagonally or how to stop faster, all that. And I worked on it in daily basis. I go to gym, I would say minimum 3 times a week in a shooting season. I don't really go in the winter time when I don't train as much. But if I don't do that, my shooting ability is not 100% in my opinion. Because in my shooting skills, my techniques, I put a lot of emphasis on the coming into position and moving out of position, and I get really low on positions. Even regular shooting, I my stance is not up straight. I personally to describe my technique, my core is engaged in many cases. Like if you guys watch me shooting, especially in wide transitions, I engage my core to transition faster, and also to get lower. I do a lot of leg press. Leg press definitely helps me to get low. If one time I stopped doing leg press and shot a match, and by the sixth stage, I was not wanting to go as low because my body was fatigued and all that. So physical training is definitely important, and it really helps me to get faster.
Okay. I'm going to I probably shouldn't talk too much about specific exercises. I'm going to, but I do shit that you're not supposed to do, and that can get you hurt. So I'll say that right up front. So I'll do like jump tucks where you jump up in the air and kind of hit your hands with your knees as you jump up in the air and kind of pull up your legs and then set them down and land. I'll do that wearing like a 40-pound vest. That makes sense, like repeatedly. So trying to build up leg strength and agility. I'll do things like that. I like pull-ups a lot I guess it's good for your forearm and grip strength. That's a good exercise. And some exercises that I'm not very flexible. I never have been. But in the last few years, I started doing like swing kick stuff where you're kind of swinging my legs up over stools and getting that stuff higher and higher. So I build more flexibility in. And that actually helped me a lot with getting into awkward positions. So it used to be that I was really not flexible and I'd have to prone out sometimes when other guys could just take one knee and get crouched down really low. And now I find that sometimes there'll be a really awkward position in a match and everybody on the squad's fucking complaining about it. But I can get down low and I'm like, oh man, it's really not that uncomfortable for me. Like I feel like I can shoot that way. So that's like little things that I do to help. I think most of your gains in terms of speed are going to come from being better at shooting. But if you want to do physical training on top of that, that's great. More power to you. Yes, so that's what I got to say. Anything to add to that, Kim?
And use dry fire. When I'm at the range, I tend to do focus on the fundamentals a little more, and do movements in dry fire instead, so I can save my time at the range. And
Your
this
dog
is actually from.
Oh, dude, I know.
This tip was actually from Matt Hopkins and you. One of the episodes, I said, how can I be more efficient at the range? And
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, there you go. That was a good tip on my part then. Right?
Dry fire movements.
Yes, it's really surprising how much you can get done in dry fire.
Yeah.
Without ever needing to spend a bullet. And then when you do start spending your bullets, you spend them on stuff that's really good and productive for you.
Oh yeah.
Me likey. Well, Tim, you're here just in time for us to conclude the episode.
Oh my God, my dogs are driving me crazy tonight.
They just love you, man. They can't help it.
I guess.
They're lovers. Well, Thank you guys for coming on. Thank you so much, especially you, Kim. We wanted you on since you did good at nationals, and then you went to Area 1 and you did good there too, or you did okay. Then you went to Area 6 and you did pretty good there. It's like, fuck, we got to get this guy on because he's super good now. Hey, have you booked your ticket yet for France?
Not yet.
You got to get with me. We got to do that. I'm getting some dates. Anyway, audience people, if you have a shooting question you want the answer to, go to bensugar.com, send me your question. We'll talk about it. We'll be nice about it, right, guys?
Absolutely.
All right.